From the romantic adventures aboard the Love Boat. The Love Boat. Stars like Gavin MacLeod and Erin Moran have left unforgettable legacies, despite their tumultuous lives. Which character is your favorite? And which tragic story moves you the most? Share your thoughts, and let's continue exploring the legends behind the scenes. Gavin MacLeod as Captain Merrill Steubing. Gavin MacLeod, whose real name is Alan George C., was born on February 28, 1931, in Mount Kisco, New York. When he took on the role of Captain Merrill Steubing in the 1977 series The Love Boat, he was 46 years old, an age most people wouldn't have expected to see him become a global television icon. Yet, it was that warm-hearted captain image that brought him international fame, making his name familiar to millions of viewers throughout 9 seasons. However, behind that radiant smile on the ship lay years of suffering and crises that nearly overwhelmed him. During the 1960s and 1970s, with an uncertain career and the breakdown of his first marriage to dancer Joan Rootvik, Gavin struggled with alcoholism, which severely impacted his mental health and career. His premature baldness also limited his opportunities for leading roles, forcing him to wear wigs to continue working in the industry. His addiction not only led him astray but also took away his first wife and 4 beloved children. However, his story did not end in tragedy. In 1984, he underwent a profound spiritual transformation and became a devout Christian, together with his second wife, Patty Kendig, whom he had divorced in 1982. They remarried in 1985 and began leading workshops on broken marriages and spiritual rebirth. Their book, Back on Course, became a source of hope for thousands of couples on the verge of divorce. But time spares no one. After years of declining health, Gavin MacLeod passed away on May 29, 2021, at his home in Palm Desert, California. At the age of 90, his family did not disclose the cause of death, only stating that he passed away peacefully. He was buried at Forest Lawn Cemetery in Cathedral City, alongside many Hollywood stars. At the time of his death, his net worth was estimated at around $10 million, earned over more than 6 decades through film, television, and his iconic and beloved roles in popular culture and the cruise industry. Erin Moran. As Carrie Walker, Erin Marie Moran. Fleischman was born on October 18, 1960, in Burbank, California. In 1980, at the age of 20, she appeared in the film The Love Boat as Carrie Walker, bringing with her the glamour of early fame, but behind the spotlight. Moran's life gradually became unstable and full of bitterness. From a beloved teenage star, Moran's career quickly plummeted. After the disastrous failure of the Joni Loves Chachi spin-off series, she was almost forgotten by Hollywood. In the years that followed, she struggled with depression, found meaningful roles, and revealed that she had been pressured to become a sex symbol since the age of 15. These psychological traumas haunted her throughout her life, especially as she gradually distanced herself from the Happy Days cast, even calling them villains in an interview at one point, a statement she later denied, although the rift persisted. Her first marriage ended in 1993, after which she married Stephen Fleischman. However, that fragile happiness could not save her from her increasingly dire financial situation. In 2010, her home was foreclosed, and Moran was forced to move into her mother-in-law's mobile home in Indiana. Once a sought-after television star, she now lived in poverty, almost invisible to the public. By the end of her life, her net worth was estimated at only around $100,000. In late 2016, Moran began showing symptoms of late-stage nasopharyngeal cancer. The disease progressed rapidly, and despite all treatment efforts, it could not be stopped. On April 22, 2017, Erin Moran was found dead in her mobile home in Corydon, Indiana, at the age of 56. An autopsy confirmed the cause of death was complications from squamous cell carcinoma of the throat. No drugs or toxins were found in her body, only loneliness and the painful echoes of a life that was once brilliant but ended in silence and obscurity. Ted Knight as Tom McMahon. Ted Knight, whose real name was Tadeusz Vladislav Konopka, was born on December 7, 1923, in Terryville, Connecticut. When he appeared on The Love Boat in 1980 as passenger Tom McMahon, he was 57 years old and at the peak of his career thanks to his iconic role as Ted Baxter on The Mary Tyler Moore Show. Although he only appeared in a single episode, his presence left a lasting impression thanks to his unmistakable charm and humor. But few knew that behind that laughter lay a life full of suffering and a yearning to escape the comedic actor image that had dominated his career. Ted served in Europe during World War II and received 5 service medals. After the war, he began his entertainment career as a puppeteer, ventriloquist, and children's talk show host, gradually landing small-screen roles, including a minor role as a security guard in the final scene of Hitchcock's Psycho. It took decades of perseverance before he landed his breakthrough role as Ted Baxter, the lovable but clumsy news anchor, a role that earned him 2 Emmy Awards. However, that very role became a double-edged sword, confining him to comedic roles and preventing him from fulfilling his long-held ambition of being recognized as a true dramatic actor. Ted admitted he felt immense pressure and frustration at not being recognized as a multi-talented artist. The real tragedy began off-camera in 1977, just months after the Mary Tyler Moore Show ended. He was diagnosed with colon cancer. Although he temporarily recovered and continued to star in the film Too Close for Comfort, the cancer recurred in 1985, metastasizing to his bladder and digestive system. Knight fought bravely, continuing to act and keep the smiles on his face, but his body gradually weakened. On August 26, 1986, Ted Knight died in Los Angeles at the age of 62. He is buried at Forest Lawn Memorial Park Cemetery in Glendale, California. His tombstone bears the name Theodore C. Konopka, along with the poignant inscription, "Bye Guy," a play on words from his famous phrase, "Hi Guys," which endeared him to audiences across America. At the time of his death, his net worth was estimated at approximately $3 million, earned through years of tireless dedication to television, particularly the role that made him a household name. Florence Henderson as Annabelle Folker. Florence Agnes Henderson was born on February 14, 1934, in Dale, Indiana. She was 43 years old when she appeared in the 1977 film The Love Boat as Annabelle Folker. Her character, a sharp, charming, and vibrant woman, radiating warmth and energy, perfectly matched the image of Carol Brady that she had ingrained in the hearts of fans through the Brady Bunch. But behind the radiant smile and polished appearance on television lay a life of its own hardships. The daughter of a poor farmer during the Great Depression, Florence began singing at age 2 and performed in grocery stores from the age of 12 to help support her family. After graduating from Performing Arts Academy, she began her career on Broadway and became the first woman to host The Tonight Show, a landmark moment in 1960's television history. However, professional glory came with invisible burdens. Henderson struggled with depression and stage fright, issues that led her to seek help from hypnotist John Kappas, who later became her second husband. Her first marriage to Ira Bernstein lasted nearly 30 years and produced 4 children, but ended in divorce in 1985. In numerous interviews, she candidly shared how balancing the ideal image of a mother on television with the reality of real-life motherhood often left her feeling like a failure. Even in her 70s, Florence hasn't slowed down. She judges beauty pageants, hosts talk shows, appears in comedic roles on reality TV, and even competed in Dancing with the Stars in 2010. Just 3 days before her death, she visited the set to support her former Brady Bunch co-star, Maureen McCormick. No one suspected it would be the last time they would see her. On November 24, 2016, Thanksgiving Day, Florence Henderson died suddenly of heart failure at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles, at the age of 82. According to her manager, she had shown no prior signs of illness, and her death was a complete shock. At the time of her death, Florence Henderson's net worth was estimated at around $10 million, earned from more than 6 decades of work in television, Broadway, film, and advertising. Jessica Walter as Holly Hartman. Jessica Walter was born on January 31, 1941, in Brooklyn, New York. At the age of 37, she appeared in the hit television series The Love Boat in 1978, playing Holly Hartman, a shrewd, experienced woman with deep emotional wounds. It was a short but impactful role, perfectly reflecting her personality, cool, alluring, and always concealing a quiet sadness. But Jessica's real life was far more complicated and painful. After her breakthrough role as the deranged villain in the 1971 film Play Misty for Me, which earned her a Golden Globe nomination, Jessica faced years of loneliness throughout the 1970s. Her career peaked too early, and she became typecast into certain roles, often being rejected for leading roles because they were considered too intense or too frightening. Living a secluded life within her own spotlight, Jessica gradually became a forgotten face on the big screen. Her only marriage to actor Ron Liebman was a solid foundation for over 30 years. But when Ron passed away in 2019, Jessica suffered a severe mental breakdown. She had no children, no close relatives, and lived quietly in her Manhattan apartment. In her final years, her only companions were her beloved dog and an unfinished memoir. On March 24, 2021, Jessica Walter passed away in her sleep at home. She was 80 years old. At the time of her death, her net worth was estimated at approximately $4 million. David Hedison as Cliff Jacobs. Albert David Hedison Jr. was born on May 20, 1927. In the film The Love Boat, he played Cliff Jacobs, a charming gentleman with a complex inner world. When he joined the franchise in 1980, he was 53 years old, a stage in life when the spotlight begins to fade. He was beloved for his role as Felix Leiter in the two James Bond films, Live and Let Die and License to Kill, and seemed to have a solid career ahead of him. But after turning 50, film offers became increasingly scarce, and he began to feel forgotten by Hollywood. This profoundly affected his mental health, especially as he became increasingly envious of the new generation of actors emerging during the transition between the 1970s and 1980s. His seemingly happy marriage to journalist Bridget Hedison also began to crumble. Family sources revealed that David became withdrawn, distant, and frequently refused to attend family gatherings. He was haunted by the thought that audiences no longer remembered him. And although his daughter, Alexandra Hedison, later became a famous artist and married Jodie Foster, David rarely publicly expressed pride in her. Some old friends said that he feared being seen as a shadow in his own family. David's final years were marked by loneliness as close friends passed away one after another, most notably Roger Moore, his longtime friend and fellow James Bond actor. Following Moore's death, David experienced a significant mental breakdown. He suffered from severe hand tremors, insomnia, and was hospitalized after falling downstairs due to a loss of balance. David Hedison passed away on July 18, 2019, in Los Angeles at the age of 92. His net worth at the time of his death was estimated at approximately $1.5 million, largely left to his two daughters, a modest legacy from a man who had shone on the big screen. Jane Meadows as Mrs. Tate. Jane Meadows, born Jane Cotter, was born on September 27, 1919, in Wuchang, China, into an American missionary family. In 1978, at age 59, she appeared in the film The Love Boat as Mrs. Tate, an elegant and refined lady, reflecting the polished appearance and calm demeanor she displayed from Broadway to television. But hidden behind that glamorous facade was a life full of quiet struggles, sacrifices, and nearly a century of loss. Jane's first marriage to playwright Milton Crims ended after 5 years, marking a period of painful loneliness. Just when she was about to lose faith in marriage, she met Steve Allen, the legendary comedian and television host. They married in 1954 and lived together for 46 years, becoming one of Hollywood's rare and enduring celebrity couples. But their marriage was not easy. Steve was an eccentric genius who frequently pressured her into taking on challenging roles, such as Cleopatra or Catherine the Great in the historical series Meeting of Minds, and threatened divorce if she refused. Jane always smiled in front of the camera, but deep down, she endured years of self-sacrifice to maintain the image of a perfect artist wife. Behind the scenes, she also served as a stepmother to Steve's 3 children from his previous marriage, while raising their only son, Bill. In an interview, she once admitted that being a mother in an artistic family was like a never-ending juggling act, and you couldn't afford to drop any of the balls. That pressure drove Jane to work tirelessly. Besides acting, she founded a travel company, wrote books, spoke politically, and continued appearing on television, including episodes of Diagnosis, Murder, and Homicide, and Life on the Street alongside her husband in his later years. In 2000, when Steve Allen suddenly died of a heart attack, Jane was devastated. She withdrew from public life and lived quietly at her home in Encino. In 2009, she fell and broke her hip, a fall that ended her artistic career and marked the beginning of a prolonged period of decline. Jane Meadows passed away on April 26, 2015, at the age of 95. Her net worth at the time of her death was estimated at approximately $10 million, largely accumulated from decades of work in television, theater, and her self-built personal brand. Rue McClanahan as Mary Hubble. Rue McClanahan, whose birth name was Eddie Rue McClanahan, was born on February 21, 1934, in Helton, Oklahoma. In 1982, at age 48, she appeared on The Love Boat as Mary Hubble, a romantic, charming, and witty passenger, a type of role that would later become her signature. Although only a cameo, Rue left a lasting impression with her enigmatic charm, sharp wit, and eyes that always seemed to hold a secret. But Rue's real life was just as fascinating and eventful as any of her film scripts. She went through 5 marriages, each ending quickly due to incompatibility, infidelity, or, as she once jokingly put it, I choose men like I choose a comedy, but end up with a horror movie. And these divorces left her with emotional and financial scars. Rue's career peaked when she played Blanche Devereaux, the woman pursuing a Southern heiress in the popular sitcom The Golden Girls. Behind Blanche's glamorous exterior lies a complex and multifaceted personality, mirroring Rue herself, a woman who battled depression, painkiller addiction, and breast cancer in the late 1990s. After undergoing a mastectomy and chemotherapy, she recovered and became actively involved in cancer awareness campaigns, transforming her suffering into a purpose in life. However, Rue's health deteriorated significantly after she suffered a mild stroke in 2009, leading to heart surgery. She attempted to recover, but just a year later, on June 3, 2010, Rue McClanahan died of a severe stroke at a New York hospital. She was 76 years old. At the time of her death, her net worth was estimated at approximately $5 million, primarily derived from the success of the television series The Golden Girls, stage roles, and image royalties. Carol Channing as Aunt Sylvia. Carol Channing was born on January 31, 1921, in Seattle, Washington. In 1980, at age 59, she appeared in the musical The Love Boat as Aunt Sylvia, a quirky, energetic, and cheerful aunt, perfectly suited to the Broadway style that had shaped her career. Although only a guest appearance, Carol brought vibrancy and color to The Love Boat, as if she were performing on stage in Hello, Dolly, the iconic role that propelled her to fame. But behind the scenes, Carol's life wasn't always as glamorous as a musical. She married 4 times, some marriages causing emotional pain and long periods of loneliness, particularly her first marriage to the writer Theodore Niddish, whom Carol once said, "He never understood my soul." She worked tirelessly to avoid feeling abandoned. At one point, she even lived in her car while touring across America in the 1940C just to earn enough money to send home to support her mother. Her relationship with her only son, Channing Carson, was also strained. After divorcing her second husband, she sent him to boarding school from a young age. The two remained distant for decades, to the point that her son even changed his last name to sever all contact with his mother. Carol carried that pain for the rest of her life, once breaking down in tears during an interview when talking about her mistake of choosing the stage over being a full-time mother. Throughout her career, she shone brightly, from her modern-day Millie role to the prestigious stages of Broadway. But ovarian cancer had been silently ravaging her health since the late 1990s. A secret she kept hidden, continuing to perform despite the pain. In her later years, Carol remarried her high school sweetheart, Harry Collagen, seemingly to mend her youthful regrets. But he died just a year after the wedding, plunging her once again into grief. Peter Graves, whose real name was Carl Lawrence, was born on March 18, 1926, in Minneapolis, Minnesota. In 1978, at age 52, Graves appeared on The Love Boat as Carl Lawrence, a dapper passenger who brought depth and elegance to the metaphorical cruise ship. It was one of his most beloved supporting roles, showcasing the maturation of a seasoned television star, adapting to a more humorous and romantic environment. However, behind the scenes, Peter Graves' life wasn't entirely smooth sailing. In 1984, while on vacation with his family at Lake Tahoe, he slipped on a slippery, icy path and suffered serious injuries to his face and jaw. He was hospitalized, received over 100 stitches to his lower lip, and had to eat through a straw for several weeks. The injury not only affected his appearance, but also forced him to temporarily suspend his participation in television projects. Contemporaries said Graves suffered from mild depression, felt out of control, and feared the inevitable effects of aging. Despite this, he strived to maintain his 60-year marriage to his only wife, Joan Endress. But even that stability was fraught with stress. From his frequent absences filming overseas, particularly during the Australian remake of Mission Impossible, to differences in religion and the upbringing of their 3 daughters. His family went through a prolonged period of tension when one of his daughters dropped out of school to pursue art, something Graves, a strict traditionalist, found difficult to accept. Amidst these personal upheavals, he returned to the big screen with a satirical role in the 1980 film Airplane, helping to reshape his previously serious image into a more approachable and humorous one. However, his long and respected career ended in disappointment. Graves declined to participate in the 1996 Mission Impossible film because his character, Jim Phelps, was portrayed as a villain, which he felt betrayed the spirit of the original series. He later admitted that it was the first time he felt Hollywood had bitterly erased his legacy. On March 14, 2010, just 4 days before his 84th birthday, Peter Graves died suddenly of a severe heart attack outside his Los Angeles home after having lunch with his family. His daughter attempted CPR but was unsuccessful. At the time of his death, Peter Graves's net worth was estimated at around $8 million, the result of decades of dedication to television.